Welcome, friends. This is JCT TV. This is Bible study for the 21st century. So this program, friends, we're continuing in Matthew chapter 20. We're going to be looking at two blind men who were very loud, but they got what they wanted. I'll be interviewing Teresa Malila in just a few moments. This will be our second interview of 4. She is our major partner in the country of Malawi with our Working for Orphans and Widows missions arm of JCT Television. And she is absolutely a world leader when it comes to working with the vulnerable. You're going to love her. So right after this break, it'll be Teresa.
Jim Cantelon Today is a program dedicated to the teaching of the good news of Jesus Christ. This all through the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. JCT also brings to you encouraging testimonies and stories from Christian leaders all over the globe. If this program has added value to your life, would you please consider becoming a partner? To do so, simply contact us by phone, mail, or online.
Teresa Malila is certainly no stranger to me, but she is to some of you. Some of you met her before as I've interviewed her over the years, but she's here in the studio, just having flown in from Lilongwe, Malawi, where she heads up a tremendous ministry called Somebody Cares. And she is my interview guest all this month. You, I hope, were watching last week. If not, check it out on the internet. But we're going to continue today and for the next two shows. Teresa, let's pick up where we left off. One of the things that you do, which I think is absolutely critical, is you champion women.
Yes.
You are a champion, not just for the cause of women, but you're a champion of women. Being a woman yourself, but you've become a real high-profile leader in Malawi with championing the causes of women. And there's any number of approaches we could take here. The mitigation of gender-based violence, for instance, a crisis center for those who've been raped, going from village to village to village and empowering women with a profound message of who they are in the sight of God. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Tell me what you're up to.
Well, with the gender-based violence and domestic violence and sexual abuse, we are really working through that with most of the women in the communities. And right now, with the police, the victim support units in the police stations, they actually have told all the communities where we serve that the first referral point is Somebody Cares, because we have centers in those communities.
Now, the police have told the people this.
Yes, we had a meeting with the police and victim support unit, a major meeting, and they addressed the communities and said, you know, police stations are not everywhere, but Somebody Cares.
Somebody Cares
has
is
a
everywhere.
presence everywhere, because we've got the presence of pastors, chiefs, and young people. So they said that would be the first referral point. And in Senior Chief Kalolo's area, his wife and I represent all the women there in cases of domestic violence, sexual abuse, rape. So that is the first point where people come to and run to.
So do they come to you, having recently been raped or their husbands beating them or whatever, they come to you?
Oh,
is that
yes,
how that
they come
works?
straight to the point where Somebody Cares presence is. We've got counselors and we've got volunteers in those areas, and they're called 911.
Oh, and then what's your legal requirement, apart from just comforting and counseling? Do you have to report this to the police?
Oh, no, it's reported immediately.
Oh, okay.
It's just that to get to the police station, they may have a problem. They may not have transport.
Right.
They may not know how to get there. So the place that they run to, the shelter that they go to, the safe place they come to, is the presence of Somebody Cares in that community.
Wow. You never anticipated this, did you, in the early days of Somebody Cares?
No.
But
you don't anticipate anything with the Lord.
No, you start faithfully with what He calls you to do, and then He's got all kinds of things for you, surprises along the line that build on your experience and your faithfulness.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the horrible situations that some women have brought to you,
Yeah.
and maybe even their physical condition. But how are you able to mitigate the gender-based violence? They've got to go back to their husbands, right?
Yes, they have to go back.
What do you do?
In situations like that, community is a very public place.
Yeah.
And it's actually a safe place as long as people understand what is right and what is not right, what is moral, what is immoral. So when we train pastors and we train chiefs and we train community leaders, they understand that gender-based violence, rape, abuse is not right. And so we have people, it's almost like we have CIDs in the community who will protect these women, who will also report these cases. But if we find that it's very unsafe, we draw the person out. The survivor is drawn out, and we take them to the Home of Mercy, where we have a rape crisis and counseling area. And so we take them through that until we have addressed the trauma and until we have seen whether she could go back to the village or not. But even during that time, while that person is away from her home, we train them in a skill so that if her dependence is on the husband supporting her and her children, she will have a skill before she goes back so that she can support herself should she decide not to go back.
Some of those skills would be?
It would be sewing, it would be, like dressmaking, bead making, right. It would be even farming.
Yeah, soap making.
Yeah, soap making, yeah. All of that.
Yeah, I've seen some of your widows raising pigs and raising goats. And
animal husbandry.
Yeah, growing maize.
Yeah.
As well as with, their foot-operated sewing machines making school uniforms. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's got to be a huge empowerment for these women.
It is. Women who have never, they tell you straight, I have never held money in my hand. For the first time, I'm holding money. God is amazing. They always give the credit to God because, for all our work, foundations are laid, biblical foundations. If somebody says they don't want the word, then they don't want what God offers.
You give more than a cup of water in Jesus' name. Yeah. You give skill sets in Jesus' name. You give education in Jesus' name. It's amazing what Somebody Cares is doing in Malawi. I'm just blown away by the comprehensive nature of your work. You mentioned something that's interesting. I want to get your comment on this. You talk about the community being a very public place.
Yes.
And as a public place, it's a safe place. What brings to mind something you did a few years ago, you created a gender-based mitigation movement called Silent No More. Yeah. I remember seeing the T-shirt, Silent No More. Yeah. What was that all about?
It was about speaking out.
Yeah.
And not, people in community before, in the areas where we used to work, if something happened, if a woman was beaten up or her child was raped, they wouldn't talk about it. They would just cover it up. And they didn't want to expose the family. They were suffering in silence. So we said, we will no longer be silent. We will speak out. And so that movement took over. And nowadays in community, even the men don't remain silent. They will speak out. We have male advocates in community. Some of them who used to beat their wives, but have understood that that is not God's way.
Oh, no kidding, not God's way for sure. Did you get pushback when you started the Silent No More program? Were those who tried to stand up against you in this program?
Yeah, obviously the male component of communities, because they felt it was their right to, beat their wives because they've never been taught anything else. Men, they think they've got a right to beat women. And also they can treat a woman any which way they want to. They can get sex on demand. They can do whatever they want. But now that they've learned that that is not right, there's been a shift. But before that, they were angry. They were you are trying to make our wives rebellious. Our women are becoming rebellious, but it wasn't rebellion.
I remember in the early days of Somebody Cares, and you and I have had a lot to do with each other, and along with my wife Kathy and our organization here with Somebody Cares. I remember in the early days, you had to spend some time with the chiefs and the pastors educating them about a man's treatment of a woman. It wasn't just the village guys. It was in many cases the headmen themselves, the chiefs, and even pastors had to be educated.
Yeah. You know, the assumption, I think people coming from the West, because you've been educated and you've stood under, ministers and also parenting, you've had good parenting. The absence of parenting can create a lot of obstacles.
Yeah.
And most of these men were not parented, and they were not taught what it is to be a man, what it is to be a father, what it is to be a husband. Yeah. They get married because that's the thing you do when you get older, but no idea of how to run their marriages or how to treat their wives and children.
And children.
So it's been like undoing most of the things they learn, unlearning them, and placing biblical values in the homes. Because whatever the community looks like, whatever the church looks like, whatever a nation looks like, it starts in the home.
And whenever I've interacted, and I've done so many times over the years with your people, these widows, these orphans, and some of these reformed men will tell me as they're talking to me about their situation, it's all because of Jesus.
Yes.
How do you inculcate that value? Like, you just up front say, now, what we're doing here and we're teaching here is biblical, it's what Jesus would have you do, or how do you introduce Jesus to the mix?
When you look at the Bible, it's storytelling, really.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And Africans love storytelling. We've got an oral tradition that we have never lost.
Yeah.
So you take the context, you contextualize the Bible into the life of the community. So, you would take, like with David and Tamar, and what happened to her, and when David didn't do anything about it, and then his son was the one who... So you ask them, does this happen in today's life? And they will say, yes. And where was Tamar's mother? She was silent. Does this happen? Yes. And so we contextualize everything. The Bible is contextualized into the way we live in community.
And of course, that story of King David and his daughter Tamar being raped by David's oldest son, all of the confusion and dysfunction it brought into David's family almost from that point until he died. But there would be a lot of parallels, wouldn't there, to the African situation?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of incest, there's a lot of stuff happening, grandfathers raping their grandchildren, fathers raping their own children. I mean, it's demonic, to say the least.
Yeah.
But we go on, we don't give up. You don't give up. Even on a perpetrator, you can't give up. But he's going to jail. But the message must be clear.
You've seen me do it. I'll often, when standing in front of a group of pastors and chiefs, I'll call Kathy up to the front, introduce her to everybody, and I'll put my arm around her and show her affection publicly. I do that intentionally.
Yeah.
Because I want those guys to see, even though they may not be Western, that a man can honor his wife.
Yes.
And this is something, again, you suggest, and I believe you're absolutely right, they've not been taught.
No, they've not been.
We're going to continue our interviews with Teresa Malila over the course of the next few weeks. This is one reason to tune in to JCT-TV, if not for my Bible teaching, to listen to this remarkable woman. So next week, we'll pick up where we left off. And don't forget, friends, that this is a kind of program and a kind of a ministry that you can support big time. Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you.
Everyone has a story. We'd love to hear about yours. Write to us and tell us about it. JimCantelonToday.com.
Last week we saw that dispute between the disciples about who would be greatest and their anger at James and John for getting their mother to ask Jesus if they could be the top officials in Jesus' government, and Jesus very kindly but very directly showed them otherwise. But now we'll pick it up in verse 29. As they went out of Jericho, a great multitude followed him. And behold, 2 blind men sitting by the road, when they heard that Jesus was passing by, cried out, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." Then the multitude warned them they should be quiet. But they cried out all the more, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." So Jesus stood still and called them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, that our eyes may be opened." So Jesus had compassion, touched their eyes. Immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. "Have mercy on us, Son of David." Where is that? Oh, here we go. "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." Now, the significance of this, the average reader won't recognize. Remember, this is a Jewish culture. There have been hundreds of years of expectation of Israel's coming Messiah. They now believe, the people do, that Jesus is the one. And they're kind of trying to hurry him to Jerusalem, because they know that once they got him there, then they can force his hand and get him to establish the throne, and get on with routing the Romans, get on with leading the world. And I mean, that was their expectation. That was their cultural and religious expectation. So what you got to do then, if this is the Messiah, you got to use messianic titles for him, right? What's more, if you use a messianic title, maybe it will flatter him, and you might get more out of him than you would hope for. I mean, human nature being what it is, okay? "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." Now, Son of David is a distinct, classical messianic term. Jesus didn't refer to himself in these terms, but so many times people who wanted something out of Jesus, including Gentiles, would use a messianic title as a way of thinking they might gain his attention that way. As if, he was looking for some kind of marketing, some kind of promotion. Well, of course, that wouldn't move Jesus one bit. So this is why, as the conversation begins to occur, that Jesus appears to be responding in such an oblique manner. Again, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." There it is again. And Jesus says, "Hello? What does he want me to do for you?" Now, there's a subtlety here. What he's saying is, lose the title. I'm not going to respond to this Son of David stuff. If you think I'm going to respond to you because you're flattering me, I'm not going to respond to you. And so there's a bit of distance there as he says, "Now, what is it you want me to do for you?" In other words, cut the flattery and tell me what you want. Even though Jesus knew what they wanted. But basically, this is, again, a kind of a gentle rebuke. Well, Lord, if we got to say it, that's implied, that our eyes may be opened, You can tell we're blind. At this point, Jesus, as he so often was, is just so aware of their human frailty and their weakness and their narrowness and their limitedness and all of that stuff. And he had compassion on them. Touch their eyes. Immediately, there's a good word, their eyes received sight, and they followed him. What can we learn from these blind guys? Well, for one thing, know what you want and stick to it. They were insistent that Jesus pay them some attention. And they were fully aware, even though they were blind, that there was a massive crowd following Jesus, especially in these urban areas. Now they're in Jericho, okay? Jesus is leaving Jericho now, going to start to climb, and believe me, it's a climb up to Jerusalem. When I used to make that climb in my little Volkswagen, it almost overheated the motor in the heat of summertime. It's such a treacherous climb, up and up and up and up again. Anyway, his disciples are almost wanting to run because, once we get to Jerusalem, then all this messianic stuff is going to happen. So, enough with the healing stuff and all of the distractions for Jesus. Let's just get on with his journey here. And these loudmouths are just demanding attention, and they tried to get him to, get them to put a sock in it. They refused. They just kept shouting. They seized the moment. And sometimes you got to do that, friends. Sometimes you have to seize the moment. How many times, maybe in our own lives, can we look back on moments that were there for us, and for whatever reason, we didn't seize it? And we look back with regret. A door opened, we didn't go through it. Oh, I wish I had to do it again. I wish I could have done that. Or in some cases, there's a door that I thought was open. I shouldn't have forced my way through it, and look at all the trouble it's brought me. But the point being that moments come and moments go. These guys had heard about Jesus, but they'd never been close enough maybe to shout out at him for attention. So he's there. We're not going to stop until he stops. And it didn't bother them at all that the crowd is telling them to shut up, be quiet, put a sock in it. No inhibition in their shouting at all. Social pressure couldn't stop them. And they got what they wanted. Sometimes social pressure is far greater than it should be, or we allow it to be bigger and stronger than it could be or should be. But we bow to peer pressure. Sometimes with the Lord, it's just between you and him anyway, and you just have to seize the moment. And it could very well be that you're facing a moment like that in your life right now. And I would think, learn a lesson from the blind men in Jericho. If Jesus is passing near, command his attention. Go to the Lord with importunate prayer. You remember the story of the importunate widow, who because of her importunity, the judge finally gave her what she wanted, just to shut her up? Well, sometimes importunity is what's needed. The thing about importunity is sometimes we think, we're being presumptuous, when really, we're not being presumptuous at all. We're speaking out of the very depths of our heart, something that is profoundly right at, if you will, the root of our need. And we need to express it. And this works not just for the Lord, but also for a lot of our most significant and loving relationships. Sometimes you just have to get it out. Speak about it. And what happens, happens. These fellows wanted their eyes to be open. Jesus had compassion. What a wonderful thing that is, compassion. In fact, it's amazing how often when Jesus does a work of healing in his ministry, it's predicated on compassion. Compassion is a wonderful thing. There were probably people in the crowd who judged these guys for their blindness. They say, oh, well, they're blind because they sinned, or because their parents sinned, or because there's sin in the family. It's a generational curse. Or they were too risky when they were children and they injured their eyes and now they can't see. But yada, yada, yada. Blame, 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 blame. Well, okay. Maybe some of those things are legitimate. Jesus would know all of that. He makes no comment about fault or about guilt or about coulda, shoulda, woulda. He just simply sees them in their need and he responds compassionately. And sometimes that's what we need to be, is compassionate with those who we feel should suffer judgment. Look in the mirror. You might find some compassion there.
Cantelon's Casual Commentary Volume 3 is here. This booklet covers Matthew chapters 8 through 16, and Jesus' signs and wonders play a major role. Lepers are healed, the dead are raised, nature is subdued, demons are cast out, and Jesus and Peter walk on water. Jesus' teaching both in parables and one-on-one with the disciples is captured in detail. We'd like you to have your copy of Cantelon's Casual Commentary Volume 3. If you're already a monthly partner, it will be sent out to you automatically in the next few weeks. If you'd like to order Volume 3, you can call us 519-415-8341 or write to Jim Cantelon Today, P.O. Box 989, Burlington, Ontario, L7R3Y7, or visit us online, jimcantelontoday.com. Request Cantelon's Casual Commentary Volume 3, and for a gift in any amount, it will be sent out to you. When you place your order, also consider becoming a monthly partner. Remember, your gifts help us build this ministry.
You know, friends, I just want to add value to your spiritual life, and that's what Cantelon's Casual Commentary is all about. I can't believe it. Volume 3 is out. Seems we just started with 1 yesterday. It's been a few months. I'm going through our study in Matthew, and I'm able to focus in on things and expand on things in this commentary I can't do on television because of time. And I want you to have it. And I've put it together in such a way that I can mail it to you in a standard envelope, which makes it a lot cheaper for us because we run really close to the wire. It's also a great way for you to, study in depth for yourself. And its size is such you can just tuck it in your Bible. It's terrific. And it's also a great reminder to you to pray for us and to support us. We need your support, especially monthly support. $25 a month from a number of people. It just makes all the difference. I've got bills to pay every month. And I'm not a rich guy. Neither are you, but together we are rich. We have a very wealthy Heavenly Father, of course, who supplies the need according to his riches and glory. Anyway, the coordinates are there. You need to get yours and do it right away. Volume 4 is in the works. And I want to mention too that Teresa Malila is our major partner in Malawi. I know you enjoyed the interview. We have a two-pronged emphasis with JCT. It's JCT, Jim Cantelon Today, and working for orphans and widows. We need your support for both. And I know it's confusing, maybe having two things to support, but this is a ministry. You gotta have a strong pulpit, here we have it, and you gotta have a strong missions emphasis, and that's what we have with WOW. And then we gotta have a strong, loving, godly audience, and that's you. And together, we can make a big difference. So remember, we need your support on every level. Thanks for watching.
Contact us. Jim Cantelon Today, P.O. Box 989, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 3Y7. If you're sending a check, make it payable to Jim Cantelon Today. Or visit us online at jimcantelontoday.com and click Support.